Hey everyone, this is Bailey from the EMH, and I'm back with another Elephant Money video. And guys, this is going to be my reaction video, listening into the AMA. I believe it's Thomas's Crypto TN's fourth AMA in his Twitter Space series. All right, so we've had myself as the leadoff hitter on the series, which has been awesome. And then we've had Crypto Stew, I believe DeFi Springs, and now the number four, the cleanup hitter in our lineup, SK CryptoK. So if you are familiar with the Elephant Money system at all, you absolutely know who SK is. And let's listen in and hear what they have to say about the Elephant Money system. All right, so let's check it out, guys. This is Twitter Spaces. Here he is. Here we go. I'm just going to be chilling tonight, guys, just listening in. Maybe I'll chime in a little bit.
Good morning, everyone. I see that SK has joined. I just want to do a voice check with SK before we get going. Can you hear me, SK?
I can hear you fine. How am I coming through?
Perfect. Fantastic. Really looking forward to this. We're just going to give people a couple minutes to get in, guys, so hang tight. In the meantime, I'll give you a little background on myself before we get started here. Name's Tom Nye. I am a restaurateur and a winemaker by trade. I run a restaurant and winery here in the Midwest. I'm an ex-IT professional. That's what I did for most of my career before getting into winemaking. But I've always had a tie to technology, and crypto was something that I've really, it's really taken me almost to the point where I'd rather be doing that than winemaking, but I don't have no complaints. I love what I do. And I started this series, it's a bi-weekly AMA to focus on elephant. I just feel like there is nothing else like this in the space. And I'm really honored today to have the person who actually is the person responsible for me finding elephant, and that's SK. So I'm going to ask SK to introduce himself, and we'll get this thing going.
Hey, man, I did not know I was the one that got you in. That's incredible, man.
I found your videos, and I just couldn't stop watching your videos. I mean, I really, that's what started the obsession with me, was your videos.
Oh, man, privileged and honored to hear that. So, yeah, thank you, man. And I guess for those who don't know, I imagine this is going to be a nice little, group of the herd who already knows who I am. But hello, for those who don't know me, I'm SK CryptoK. And I've been in DeFi for a little over 2 years. My very first project that really morphed my mindset about DeFi was Bankroll Flow. And that was kind of my introduction into the ecosystem, and followed it all the way through into Elephant Money. So, at first when I found DeFi, I was previously a content creator elsewhere for a couple years before that. I was a partnered streamer on a platform called Mixer, and it was owned by Microsoft, but they ended up shutting it down. But before they did, I became something that they call partner over there, and it's like the upper echelon of what you do. And I was doing everything from just chatting over there to streaming video games or just like news and just like reacting to stuff. But I had cultivated such a following there, and I had concurrent viewership to where they just I applied for partnership after I met the minimum requirements, and it kind of just took off, and I said, hey, this might be kind of cool, until it got shut down and that magic died. And then when I found DeFi probably half a year later after that, that's when I was like, you know what, I'm just going to move my talents over here. I'm going to start up a brand new YouTube channel from scratch, not even going to tell my old community about this. Let me just see if I can repeat that success. And here we are 2 years later, partnered on YouTube, doing the thing, even though I haven't been active lately. But yeah, it's been a blessing, and crypto's changed my life, and I'm glad that people are out there that actually vibe with you know, my style. And yeah, hopefully there's more to teach for years to come.
I'm not sure I've seen a better style anywhere. I really do believe you are the way you do your videos. They're not only entertaining, but super informative. I love that little alter ego voice that you got going on there. What gave you the idea to do that?
Hey,
Yeah, all of that,
hey,
every single bit of that is a
yeah,
carryover from my
man.
previous streaming career. You know, you can imagine a scenario where I don't know, you're reacting to something, and then like, you know, I'm just talking normal, and then boom, I'll just flip the button and be like, "Whoa, what do you mean, SK? Like, blah blah blah, that's crazy." Like, you know, and I had a live chat going the whole time, and people would eat it up, and I had you know, different background music too that would cycle through. And when certain beats would come up, I would like, you know, I would turn that audio up, and then I'd go to the deep voice. I'd start rapping back what the chat was doing. Dude, it was a whole vibe that was just amazing. And, you know, I don't get to mimic that today because I don't really do live content like that. But a lot of that skill and communication skill and just understanding the audience skill, all of that is just carryover from my previous, you know, stuff. And you know, from the beats to the music, or sorry, from the beats to the voices, and really everything. And then studying communities, I just have a natural knack for understanding what like the burning questions are, and then I know how to package it in a way that delivers. And it's been the same way ever since back in the day before I joined crypto. So you know, I feel like this is my calling. This is my God-given talent, and yeah, I'm just here to dedicate all of that to elephant money. So yeah,
It,
thank you.
it, it is a God-given talent. You are awesome at it. So one last question about your videos. How did you get that lead-in song, man, which is the coolest lead-in song in any YouTube video?
You talking about the intro one, the
Yeah,
appreciate your time?
Let's
Yeah.
take it to
So
cruise.
that beat
Talking about crypto
is
club.
one of the things that I used to do when like that beat would come on, and you know, the
That's
chat
good.
with, I don't know, 40 people concurrently at any time, the chat's just always going. And I wouldn't have any preset lyrics. I would just literally rap back the chat to that beat in the same voice with the same cadence. And it was just that style already. And then whenever I came over to crypto YouTube, that's when I was just like, you know what? I like that beat. I'm gonna actually write some lyrics this time, and let's see if I can make a banger. And I did. It was actually one of the first songs I ever recorded for the crypto YouTube, and I actually used to have it at the end of my videos. You know, I didn't have an intro before, and I don't know. At some point, 6 months into it, I just moved it to the beginning, and it just fits. I thought about re-recording it because I've advanced my skills as far as like how the sound goes, but really to this day that recording I did, it still works, so I still use it. Yeah.
it is the best. Do not change that, man. So before we do the dive on elephant money, just a couple more questions for you.
First, I just have to say, Thomas, I am super proud of you, man. For someone who says, they're bad at math and everything, he's rocking the X times Y equals K constant product formula right in his title there, his handle. Good on you, buddy.
You know, how how old are you? What do you do for a living? Unless you're doing this full time for a living now, and if you don't mind asking those questions, then what part of the country do you live in, or what part of the world, I should say, do you live in?
No, I don't really mind going into some of that. So for um let me see. So what I do for a living and where I live, I will say that I am in Northern California. Okay, I've only been here for about 4 years. Previously, I grew up though on the East Coast, Southern East Coast. So that's why some people are like, "Man, you got a little Southern twang in your voice. What is that? You say the word y'all. What?" It's just like, hey, that's where I grew up, you know. But outside of that, yeah, I've been out here for my career. So I'm a mining engineer. So I've been in the rat race for like 13 years. Graduated from a really nice school as an engineer, and yeah, pretty much in a management engineering position right now where I work. And hopefully, you know, I won't be doing this for too many more years, and I can dedicate, you know, full time into YouTube and whatnot. And then lastly, I am 36.
Wow. All right. That is that's awesome. So you're not mining crypto. You're actually mining real stuff.
I am mining real rocks. We blow shit up, excuse my language, and then we crush the rocks and then we sell the sized aggregate.
Blowing shit
But
up right
yeah,
here.
my whole goal is just to move away from real world mining into DeFi mining. So
That is very cool. I'm glad to kind of get that background with you. So, why don't we start diving in here? So, I guess my first question, a lot of people kind of almost feel like you're the Elephant Money spokesperson. You don't work for Elephant Money, right? I mean, you're not a paid employee.
no, not paid at all. This is purely passion on my end, and I've been a fan since day one. Actually, if you even go to my CryptoK channel and literally go to the first video, I think it was March 4th of 2021. It was on the first iteration of Elephant Money back when it was stack contracts, when you could take your BUSD or BNB and then 10% in and out, you would stake it. And that was my very first video. Very first video. I didn't even have the voices on that one. I didn't get my groove with the crypto stuff and back then. But yeah, that was the beginning.
So, what attracted you to Elephant Money versus? I mean, you are involved in some other protocols. What is it? What makes Elephant Money different for you? Where do you kind of place that in the hierarchy of the other protocols that you're in? Not asking you to trash anything. I'm just curious where do you place Elephant Money in your portfolio?
Hey, top number one. There is no other protocol. All right, it just is. It's the top dog. It's the juggernaut. There's no way around it. You can't argue anything against Elephant. It's a 2-year-old protocol. It's not this startup trash. It's just amazing, and
The
yeah,
patch.
it's sustainable. The tokenomics are top notch, and we can get into all of that. But how I found it really was, going back to what I started with, when I was a partnered streamer, I made a lot of friends through that. And, after Mixer got shut down, I was just like, oh, well, I guess I'm stuck in the rat race again. Here we go. There's no fun hobbies to really do anymore. And I was just doing that. And that was during the 2020 COVID year when that hit. And I guess some more background to tie into everything. But like, the corporate leadership where I was working at was making some of the dumbest decisions that I knew, me and my boss knew, were wrong. And we told corporate that. And he said, you can't furlough us just because of this, little thing. We're still going to sell X
Corporate
amount of
making dumb
times per
decisions.
year. Just because they're not picking up because COVID hit right now doesn't mean they're not going to, defer it and pick it up later. And they looked at us and said, that's just a calculated risk we're willing to take. And I was like, are you serious? So anyway, we drank the Kool-Aid, we did what they said, and after the furlough came back, it's like, okay, it's go time. Let's work some overtime. Let's go ahead and like play catch up for what we missed out on. But then they came back and they were like, oh, 0 overtime. And I was like, what? You're crazy. And so anyway, fast forward 5 months later, it got to the point where we now had to really play catch up. We're in peak season. We had to go to 12-hour shifts, and these it was just bad. We were getting the ire and the hatred from the employees. And it's like, look, man, corporate said this, yada yada. But I say all of that because that's what really turned my eye into, I have to find something different, because it's not just this company. All corporate leadership to an extent does that same stuff where they just don't understand when you have the facts in their face, and they'll give you that mentality of that's a calculated risk we're willing to take. And in this case, they were wrong. They were completely wrong. And we threw that back in their face enough to where actually someone got fired because we were right, they were wrong. But that level of stress that I had to go through, that's what pushed me over the edge. And my wife was telling me like,
Don't
oh man,
push me,
let's
cause
look
I'm
into stocks,
close
let's look
to
into
the
this.
edge.
And nothing was really scratching that itch for me. Like, everything I was doing research on didn't just do it. And my friend that I made when we were partnered streamers, he actually said, hey man, just let you know, I've been at DeFi for a while. Like, you should come check out this thing. I was like, what is it, man? I already looked at crypto, like Bitcoin, Ethereum. I don't want to buy that stuff. Like, I'm not a trader. It doesn't make sense to me. And he was like, no,
Speculation.
check out this thing. And he showed me Bankroll Flow. He introduced me to DeFi and Bankroll Flow. And at the time, it was hot. It was firing on all cylinders. Everything was good. And it, like, this whole concept of 1% a day, 365% a year, it just blew my mind. I was like, how does this stuff exist? Okay. And that's what kind of had me follow the industry more and start learning more. And I just followed Bank Teller, even though Bankroll Flow kind of died off with the price, and I still haven't ROI'd on that, but I didn't care. It was the innovation, it was the mindset, and the fact that this stuff exists that really enamored me. And so I stuck with it.
One's
And I
taking
remember when he announced Elephant Money, it was just because I was already following his ecosystem after Bankroll Flow. And I think he launched it with some sort of, did a small little YouTube video contest where he was like, okay, make the best 5-minute video or whatever. I'm going to choose 5 winners and you'll win 150 BUSD. And I remember that and I went for it and I was one of the winners. I was like, oh crap. And this is even after all the onslaught and the war that was happening with the, some of the angry investors with Bankroll Flow. And but I was sticking up for him. And I remember when he DM'd me the money and said, hey man, I see what you're doing out there in these other chats and I appreciate you. I remember him saying, I was like, dude, you noticed me? Like, it was so cool. And then I've just been, following that trajectory of Elephant ever since. And I think Elephant Token itself launched on May 4th of 2021. It probably wasn't until about August or September of that
Horse is
same
strong
year
with this one.
that I really started to get to know BT, like on a one-on-one basis, to where I could call him up, he answers, we vibe, we talk about whatever, and that's kind of the friendship that was formed, and why I really dug my feet into this ecosystem through thick and thin. I became one of the earliest believers of the protocol, and he finally took notice of me and my talents, and here I am. And I'm just part of the volunteer army. I don't get any privileges outside of anybody else. I'm not paid, but I just love the system and I love what he's created. So,
You know, I had the same exact intro, kind of intro into DeFi and what have you. I was into crypto 5 years ago. It didn't do much for me to just hold and sit, and I didn't really care about it. But DeFi, smart contracts, and throwing traditional banking on its head, that's what set me off, as it sounds like it set you off as well. So you're the best at encapsulating elephant money. Give us your 45-second, 1 minute overview of what elephant money is.
I have trouble
man,
keeping under
I don't know if I could do
45
45
minutes.
seconds. You know that
My
Elephant Money
45
3-minute
seconds.
video that I
Yeah.
made on the channel?
Yeah.
That was so difficult. That was so difficult. I remember when BT hit me up and just requested it, and I was like, dude, you're out of your mind. There's way too much to cover. Like, are you serious? He's like, I just challenge you. And I said, okay, challenge accepted. And more remarkably, it actually came out pretty good. I was like, okay, cool. I surprised myself with that one. But now 45 seconds,
Well, just give
that's going to be
me
tough. But I know what you mean.
yeah, just kind of give me an
So,
overall. What is your description of elephant money? I mean, to me, I like to describe it as a DeFi community bank with different products and services. It's kind of the direction I always take when I describe to people. But how would you describe the overall ecosystem? And then we're going to do deep dives on the elephant token
oh, yeah.
and everything like that.
No, for sure. So, yeah, to me, it's a DeFi cooperative. It's a community bank that exists out there to be the best store of value, period, bar none. And on top of that store of value, you also have yield generating contracts that are going to keep your cash flow going. So, whenever I talk to someone new to Elephant Money, I always make the comparison of the Elephant token to Bitcoin, Dogecoin, SHIB, any of those, and I always reference how they're speculative versus math based, and the backstop Bertha model. So if you want price appreciation that is going to at least 50, 80, 100x that you can rely on, and you're in this early on a Bitcoin, you're going to get that. And then with futures and Stampede and the Trunk ecosystem, you can get a lot of yield on your cash flow. So it's great.
So let's dive into the elephant token, because your first video that kind of captured me, which was the supply shock. I mean, I'm not sure if you're the one that actually termed that phrase, but you're the first person I heard it from. Was that your phrase?
I'm not going to claim credit for the phrase, but I also don't remember anyone else saying it either. I think it was one of those natural, organic terms that came up in some of my conversations one-on-one with BT.
Yeah, when I first heard that in your video, my family, after a month or two, banned me from saying the word supply shock in my house because they just were so sick of me saying it. So,
Yeah.
talk to us about elephant token and the supply shock, and I have a couple questions around that, but why don't you kind of dive into that?
Yeah. So the supply shock. So that's really interesting because when the token first launched, there was no concept of this supply shock. I didn't know it could do exactly what it did. And it wasn't until, so if the token launched in May, it wasn't until Trunk was introduced in August or September later that year. And when he made Trunk, he created the elephant treasury. It didn't even have a name. It wasn't Bertha at the time. It was just the elephant treasury, that whole concept. And as I was learning more about that at the time, he was saying, well, this thing is going to just gobble up. It's a friendly whale that's going to, not dump. And that's kind of where it just became crazy. And then you really, it was like one of those startup projects where, when you hear these other protocols and they're like, oh yeah, we can potentially do this or speculatively do that. At that time, that was that. It was like speculation. I couldn't see it yet. But it wasn't until, the gears really started moving and like Stampede was on fire and Bertha was growing at a rapid rate. And then, fast forward to February, March of 2022, when we saw that first parabolic rise, that that concept of the supply shock and the Berthanomics or whatever, that rang true and just was an eye opener for everybody. And I don't know how many people were actually in Elephant Money that long to experience that, to have bought Elephant Token so cheap and then have it do what it did in March of 2022. That was just crazy, crazy explosive, hype everywhere. All the TGs, all the YouTubers were talking about it, and it was just mind blowing. And even after the exploit, when you saw that the Trunk and Elephant tokens weren't breached, but it was just the Bertha linchpin that was shocked out, or drained out of its value. You see now you have a narrative of that's a crystal ball. This isn't speculative of what's going to happen. This is inevitably going to happen again now that the protocol is hardened.
Yes,
So
sir.
yeah, that supply shock, it's crazy. And now with Daedalus and Elephant Money Herd Bailey, everyone really piecing together the math and looking at the history to predict the future. And you can see when the LPs are drained of their elephant tokens to such a level, and then Bertha crosses it. We've got the upcoming flippening.
Uh,
When you break all of that down, it's just so easy now, I feel like, to explain how awesome Elephant Money is, because you have all of this data that I didn't have a year ago when it was happening. I was just making videos that vibe and explain what we knew at the time. But now it's so much easier. There's so much more material. You have so many more content creators that are breaking it down in different ways. It's amazing, and it's easier to get someone to have that aha moment if they actually have an open mind to listen to you. And once they have that aha light bulb moment, it's game over. So yeah, supply shock, amazing.
It's really, is there another protocol with this math behind it and predictive math that's easy to see and research and understand and to see where this is going? I don't know of any other.
Nope, there's not. And anyone that claims that they could do it, they end up usually dying off. Like 95% of crypto projects are all just, in BT's own words, low liquidity startups, with inexperienced teams. And that's just the facts. And, they can tell you all this stuff they speculate could happen, but they all just die off, and they struggle. So
So, I asked for some questions from the community, so this is kind of a good time to jump in on one of them. Someone asked, I think it was CryptoD, yes, the asset is scarce, but that does not necessarily mean that the demand will be skyrocketing. There are many fixed supply tokens. There has to be some driver for some utility. How would you answer that?
I mean, as a concept, yeah, there are a ton of fixed supply tokens out there. It's a matter of how the incoming money is spent, okay, or where it goes in the protocol. And in this scenario, there is not another protocol that has a Bertha. Like, I'm sorry. So, Crypto D, you find me another protocol that has a treasury that works exactly the way that Bertha does, because it doesn't. That is the whole innovation of Elephant Money as a protocol. They don't have a Bertha model. They don't have something that's gobbling up tokens, that trickles tokens out as it pays off debts. That's crazy. That you can't find anything else like it.
Bertha
That's
right
what
here.
makes this unique. So the appreciating asset part of it is the value capture that the taxes do, that futures does, that minting trunk does. All of that value capture that goes into Bertha doesn't exist anywhere else. And it's not where the price goes up purely based on scarcity. Okay, it's because of how the LPs and the constant product formula are charging us up that parabolic chart faster and faster. It takes less money to move up that parabolic chart because of how the ecosystem as a whole is engineered. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, because even when people profit take, their taxes are still going into Bertha, and Bertha's just charging up
Thank you
that
very
supply
much.
shock
Please come
even
again.
more. So it's less about just scarcity. It's more so about how the Elephant Money protocol can supply shock within its own bubble, and the chart only goes up and becomes a beacon for all of these, for all of these chart watchers and algorithms, while the rest of the market's crabbing sideways. Like, I don't know where, if Crypto D was there at the first supply shock, but if you looked, you know, into the run up of the supply shock, when you looked at all the rest of the market, it was bleeding red or crabbing sideways at best. And Elephant Token was the only thing that was rocketing upward. Okay. And, that's how you went from 6,000 holders up to 18,000 holders, because people gravitate towards things that are just going up and green in a market that's bleeding. Okay. That same exact thing is going to happen again. You're going to be on all the algorithms, all the chart watchers. YouTubers are going to be flooding back in, and it's just going to be madness once again. So it's a combination of things. It's not just one singular, oh yeah, it's scarcity. No, dude, it's the whole package. There's so many variables at play, and Elephant Money just does it unique enough to where it's gonna matter.
And he was asking about what driver, what utility is going to drive this. But I mean, to me, it's
Store
the yield, it's
it's
futures, right?
store of value. Store of value. What's the main utility of Bitcoin? Oh yeah, it's digital gold, it's the crypto gold. No, it's a store of value that people believe in. So first and foremost, when you see the Elephant Token is the best store of value, like hell, even Crypto Phil did a video where, like, if you had invested in Bitcoin a year ago, you would be down negative 10%. If you put
Right.
that same money into Elephant, you would be up 90% or 100%. It's a store of value that you can bank on that keeps going up, because Bertha acts as that carjack or that backstop that doesn't let the price crash. There is no other token in existence that has that. So that's the utility. It's a store of value. And then you factor in the other things that have been engineered within Elephant Money, but it's the yield, as you said. That's the second best utility of the ecosystem, is yield generation. And even though the debts are climbing, the asset growth and the appreciation of the supply shock with the Elephant Token is exponentially growing faster than the debt, so it can pay everything off. It's like its own nuclear reactor. When everything is firing on all cylinders, it becomes self-sustaining, and all the people just keep FOMOing in at that time, and they're gonna see price appreciation too. So
Yeah, yeah. He also follows it up with, he goes, well, many are using the AMM. Why isn't Uniswap going to the moon or other tokens? But I think you answered that.
Well, Crypto D, like, you've been around for a while, right? Like, do you watch my videos? Did you see the search for the perfect crypto, cracking the code? All right, do your homework, dude. Come on.
The reason why is because we have Bertha, because
Unless he's a plant,
that
just
is
throwing
locking up
these
these
like
tokens. So
questions
there's just the
out there.
mechanisms of how we are locking up tokens. And I mean, the most brilliant thing that I think differentiates us now from the first supply shock is that now futures feeds it. So it's not just, taxes on the system that feed Bertha. Now you've got a utility that's delivering yield for people, and it's hyper feeding Bertha. I think this one's going to be even more amazing.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, man. So yeah, that's the singular answer to everything. It's Bertha and how the incoming money is actually captured and used. That's the innovation to the Elephant Money Protocol that nothing else has. Uniswap, PancakeSwap, whatever other protocol you want to name it me, Elephant wins. It's just the facts. They don't have a Bertha. And you can't clone Bertha. That's the other thing, too. Some of these, there's already been probably 3 elephant forks that have come out and died a horrible death because they don't have liquidity. You cannot clone liquidity. And unless there's a venture capitalist that comes in on a new startup clone, that's probably the only way you can get enough cash injection to make, the system work, but you can't clone it. This isn't. That's the other amazing thing too. So
Yeah, how we launched Elephant Token and created that liquidity is completely unique. I don't think it can be repeated either. Thor God Ed asked, can you talk about the flippening? And this is not the flippening of Ethereum and Bitcoin. I actually think the real flippening, if it wasn't for the SEC FUD, I think BNB would have flipped Ethereum in my mind. But they're talking about the flippening of the Treasury and the LPs. Can you talk about that and why that's important?
yeah, absolutely, and that's an interesting term, but I like it. Yeah, the flippening, man. So when everyone looks at the BSC scan and sees the top 4 contracts for Elephant Money, on top you've got the graveyard. In second place, you have Bertha at, I haven't checked. She had like 137 trillion right now, and then in third and fourth place, you have BNB and BUSD LPs, respectively. But when you add up the third and fourth place, that token count, I think, adds up to like 170 trillion tokens. Okay. And with Bertha in second place at 137, there comes a point as people and Bertha are all buying Elephant token, we're drawing out the Elephant tokens out from the LPs. The LP in Elephant token count is shrinking, so it's going from 170 trillion down to 160 trillion, down to 150 trillion, and those Elephant tokens that are leaving the LPs are landing in the wallets of human holders such as me and you, and also Bertha. And so the flippening specifically is when that intersection point happens with just Bertha and the LPs specifically. So Bertha is going to climb from 137 trillion tokens, and she will eventually hit 150 trillion tokens. And at that, around that point, is when the LPs will drain from 170 trillion tokens down to 150 trillion tokens. They will meet in the middle at some point, and then they will cross. And that is the flippening, when Bertha is
Flipping.
larger than the combined LPs of the Elephant BNB and BUSD pairs. When that happens, that's kind of when history is going to repeat itself. That happened a year ago, and the supply shock ensued. That's right around the corner for us now. I think it's like 8 weeks away, and that's when everything's going to start charging up that parabolic chart faster and faster and faster. It's going to be amazing to witness again.
So do we need a bull run to get into supply
No,
shock? Do you think? I don't think so either. So tell me about that. Why do you think we don't need a bull
because
run?
we didn't have a bull run the last time it happened. I have my crystal ball from a year ago that showed me the market was bleeding red and crabbing sideways, yet Elephant Token still supply shocked its face off. We don't need a bull run. A bull run is going to help. It's going to be great because of the Elephant BNB pair, and the BNB is going to shoot our price up a little bit, but that's just whatever. That's a nice to have. But Elephant Token is going to be in its own bubble. It's going to supply shock on its own accord because of the tokenomics that just exist already. So yeah, I would love for the elephant token to supply shock during a bear market. That's like the best time, if anything, to get all eyes on you, because everyone's going to be searching for that safe haven of, all my portfolios, in the red right now. But what is this elephant token that just keeps going up and up and up and up? That's what happened a year ago. That's what's going to happen again. So easy.
Yeah, and it's happening now, right? I mean, right now it's the only thing going up in this market. I mean, everything's sideways or down, and the only thing going up is, yeah, I'm surprised more people that hasn't really just sunk into the crypto community at large yet. But I mean, it's already happening now, so it's pretty exciting to see. So, I guess, what's your time frame for when you think the first 10x happens? Because the 10x is the most important thing, right? So once we get to the 10x, then trunk is restored to peg, and we can kind of talk a little bit about that and the redemption queue. But what's your best guess? I mean, no one can obviously put a time frame on when the 10x will happen, but you seeing all the back end mechanics and how things are going and what's happening, what's your guess for when the 10x happens?
I think conservatively, by this time next year, we will at least have 10x'd. At least. I don't even want to speculate how many X's we would have already crossed a year from today. But right now, we're charting very slowly in growth. And people are trying to wait for dips, quote unquote, to buy elephant token. The thing is, it doesn't really dip. You might have a large market swing where things drop 12% in a day or a week, but elephant token only dropped 2%. It's like, dang, how did it hold water so well? That's, due to Bertha. But we're growing slowly, but then as the flippening occurs and then Bertha keeps growing and then more people start, buying elephant token and draining the LPs faster, you're going to get that accelerated growth. And that's what Bailey is really, showing in his math. But that accelerated growth is what really changes the game. So if we're 8 weeks away from that milestone of 150 trillion tokens, um, probably 90 days after that point is when things just start to really accelerate. And then 90 days after that point, we're going to be in, the vertical of the hockey stick, when the parabolic rise happens. So I would say by this time next year, at least a 10x. I would not be surprised if it was like a 30 or a 50x, but I'm not going to speculate that. But 10x easy in 12 months. Easy.
Yeah, totally agree. How high do you think this can go? I mean, I see people in the chat sometimes. What's going to take to get to 1 cent? But I'm not sure that's realistic. But what is the upper limits for this? I mean, honestly, if people still want yield and futures is doing its thing, I thought one of the coolest things I learned with one of Bailey's videos recently was, what happens to a $200 deposit once we reach our all-time high? That $200 turns into 1,800 for Bertha. That to me is the magic, man, that no one else can replicate. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I don't know how high it can go, but I I safely feel that it is gonna at least 100x from even today, and it's how it gets there though is interesting because it's all about the value capture. Like nowhere else in crypto can you let your portfolio appreciate and price with the elephant token, and then you can sell, and then at that time buy with Bertha should be gone, and it's going to be back to the 10% model, in and out off pancake swap and bogged. um those reflections are going to keep going into the graveyard, which is going to do its rebalance and strengthen liquidity. Those reflections also go into Bertha, which just keeps, that 10 or that fraction of the 10% that makes it into Bertha. Remember, at that time, she's going to be multiplying it 12, 15, 20 fold. A sell of, $100 going into Bertha is going to feel like she just got, $1,500. It's going to be crazy, but that value capture because of the taxes is just going to keep that supply shock going up. Nowhere else in crypto are you going to be able to have large amounts of people sell and it not do any damage to the chart because of the deep liquidity, the value capture with the taxes going into Bertha, which just keeps fueling the supply shock. So,
Come on,
yeah,
SK.
at least
Tell
100x. I wouldn't be surprised if it got like 400x, because you're literally looking at a $7 Bitcoin, right? If you look at that stat, and you're incredibly early, on if you hold this token for 3, 4, 5 years, you are talking insane price appreciation. And with Bertha paying the debts that are coming from trunk and futures, it's chump change for Bertha to shell out a tiny
man.
fraction of tokens to pay someone out thousands of dollars per day. It's just incredible how it's engineered.
Can you imagine this? Do you imagine Elephant being really the star of crypto? I mean, if it does 100x, there's nothing like it in all of crypto. It becomes almost a story outside of crypto if it when it does the 100x. I mean, would you agree with that? I mean, where do you see Elephant in the placement of crypto after the 100x?
Oh, I mean, ultimately, Elephant token itself is going to be a top 20, top 10 probably, but top 20 guaranteed. Mathematically assured. I shouldn't say guaranteed, but mathematically
Guaranteed.
assured top 20 crypto. And
Did
you
that
are going to
before.
have
I
all
was
sorts of eyeballs
too
on it.
excited.
And people will be paying attention because it just keeps going up. It's going to hold the value there. It's not going to die off and fluctuate, like SHIB and Doge, which has no backstop model like that. That's one of the main things I tell people too, is like when you compare all of the current top 20s,
Yeah,
utility, whatever they have, they're still just speculative tokens that when you purchase it at that time, you are at the whim and mercy of the people that got in before you for cheaper than you. They have larger bags than you, and you don't know what's going on in their life. They might have like medical emergencies, and like the biggest whale might dump, cause a scare, and the whole thing crashes. The price could really drop. That cannot happen in Elephant Token because of Bertha. Even the top human holder is only like 0.8% of the entire supply. That is insane how whales do not exist to crash the chart in Elephant Token.
10x
And
from here.
you could even, I think, Into Crypto at the time
33.
of the exploit a year ago, he looked at all the wallets and he saw who was doing what. And your trillionaire holders at the weakest point of the protocol, the scariest moment for so many people, the trillionaires by and large held, and if not, grabbed more tokens. That's crazy that your top 30 holders of this protocol on the scariest day were unwavering. They stood
That's
their ground and they bought more tokens.
at number
That speaks
7.
volumes. And they're not even Bertha. Bertha's the biggest one ultimately now that's not going to sell. Dude, it's just crazy the strength of the protocol here, and yeah, how people are just going to hold the tokens, buy more, and the price is just going to keep going up. You're never going to see a crash. So this is a top 20 easy token.
And I also see it just given the times that we have in the world right now. After the 100x, this is going to be one of the protocols that attracts people into crypto. This is how you're going to get adoption. It's going to be one of those, I think, you know, you could say drip kind of had that effect. It brought a lot of people from outside, a lot of newbies and normal people into crypto. I think Elephant becomes that after the 100x. I think it actually starts driving crypto adoption.
I think so too. Even with something like
Yeah,
Dogecoin,
totally.
Dogecoin existed for like 3 or 4 years before it became a household name. You know what I'm saying? And right now we're still underground, but once we start cracking the top 50, once websites start reporting us correctly, and we're showing in the top 20, the top 10, that's when it's just undeniable at that point, and everyone has to talk about us. And hopefully, even too, by that time, onboarding into crypto might even be a little easier than it is today. I know there's a number of ways to get in. Some, methods are easier than others, but it might even be easier at that time. But yeah, mainstream news. Everyone's gonna be talking about this. It's gonna be incredible to witness.
So let's talk about the redemption queue. I'm actually just blown away. It sounds like such a simple thing, the redemption queue, but actually, the brilliance of that really just kind of, yeah, the fact that he introduced it so early and the role that's going to play in restoring Trunk. Let's talk about restoring Trunk. Let's talk about the redemption queue. I know a lot of people are always like, when, will Trunk ever be restored? And I always like to remind people, BT is publicly admitted he's got a lot of trunk, man. He's got a lot of trunk and Stampede. You don't think he wants to get this thing back to peg? I think he does. But what? Let's talk about how you see the redemption queue being used to bring Trunk back.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man. So in my opinion, I love talking about Trunk sometimes to the hardcore people. I don't introduce Trunk to like the new people that I introduce to the ecosystem only because it's that there's better things to focus on. Like the first thing they need to get is their elephant bag. There's never enough elephant you can hold, but get enough elephant to where you're content, somewhat content. And then you have futures now, and that's the focus right now. But for the hardcore and the people in the know, Trunk is such a sleeper hit. It's amazing. Even at 16 cents, it is performed like a fantastic stable coin for the last year after the exploit. And anyone who gobbles up any of this cheap Trunk today on PancakeSwap, you're looking at a 6x. You're looking at a 6x of just holding that token alone, let alone you can put it into the farms or Stampede in the redemption queue and get and wait for it to go back to peg. Here's one takeaway too that people need to realize, because that's, if there's any negativity that anyone outside of Elephant in the know wants to say about Elephant, they always want to try to point out, oh well, when peg, when's Trump going to be $1? It's like, well, open your mind and listen, bro. But like, there
You
is
got nothing.
there is not a scenario where Elephant token supply shocks and Trunk is not $1. Like they are exclusively tied together, okay? If you believe that the Elephant token is going to supply shock and you have all the data that proves and shows you how and why it will, then you have to believe that Trunk goes back to $1. They go hand in hand. There's not a scenario where one exists without the other. And when people make that connection, they say, "Oh my God!" Like Trunk is a great asset to have and to yield, get cash flow from. So the redemption queue is genius as well, because I think at this point it's still less than a year old, and most anyone I've talked to that got into the redemption queue within the first month of its existence has already been paid out. They've already had their dollar for dollar Trunk given back to them. And what's cool and exciting about even today is that anyone who enters the redemption queue, and yes, it says like 2,800 people in the queue and it's congested, you also understand that we're at the cusp of the huge supply shock coming. And when Bertha gets bigger, her buybacks into the Trunk peg price goes up. The redemption queue cycles faster. So if people want an easy 6x of up to, I think you could put 10,000 Trunk into the redemption queue, you will get a 6x within a year. What other protocol can sustainably pay a 6x in 1 year's time? That is incredible. And people don't understand that yet. And also, what's magical about the Trunk going into the redemption queue is the fact that it's burned. That helps the peg over time too. So you imagine a scenario where Bertha is buying Trunk at bigger dollar amounts on a daily basis as Bertha's value's going up. Trunk price is going to go from 16 cents and it's going to organically move up to 32 cents and 48 cents. And eventually you get to where, yeah, you have this great arbitrage opportunity too, because as Trunk price is going up, the redemption queue is cycling faster. So then people will be able to put in whatever up to 10,000 Trunk and get that paid back dollar for dollar. Now, fast forward all the way when we're like back at peg, okay? Trunk is back at 99 cents. If it dips down, you have some of these people that pulled out a trumpet and just dumped on the PancakeSwap pair. It might go from 99 cents down to 94 cents or whatever. But at that time, when we're firing on all cylinders, the redemption queue is going to be also lightning speed. So you can nab that 94-cent trunk on Pancake Swap. You can then burn it in the redemption queue and make a 6% profit when it goes back to peg. Like it's insane how it's all tied together, and it's such an intricately designed system that it's hard to explain to the new people. But for those in the know that are probably listening to this podcast right now, the hardcore, stack your trunk. If you're in this system for the long term, get your trunk. Like it's going back to $1. There is not a scenario where trunk isn't $1. So
Yeah, I completely agree. I wonder if, as we don't even need the 10x, I almost wonder if trunk can come back or close to come back without even the 10x because of just the redemption queue. I wonder, because it'll speed up the processing time. So you could be looking at, let's just say we're at 5x territory. Let's say by September we're 5x, right? Something like that. You can envision a scenario where the redemption queue is sped up to maybe every 90 days. So who's not going to buy and get their money in 90 days? It could organically start fixing peg without Bertha having to support the entire peg at that point. So once it starts speeding up, it changes the entire dynamic.
yeah, no, that's 100% spot on. I think it's going to go up organically and slowly for a time, and until Bertha. I mean, when Bertha's at a 10x, I mean, I think BT's just gonna really dial up that redemption queue and the trunk peg lever too. And when those things, I think it's going to go up slowly in trunk price, and the redemption queue is going to get faster and faster linearly, slow. But then once some dials are turned and Bertha can afford it and everything's really good and all eyeballs are on the protocol itself, that's when you're just going to see a very steep increase in all of that, the redemption queue speed, the trunk price, and then people are going to start FOMOing in. Oh, trunk's good again, let me mint some trunk, let me use the farmer's depot. All of those mechanisms that feed back into Bertha, it's just going to compound on itself, man. It's going to be so awesome to watch when everything's firing on all cylinders, and that includes trunk. Then all the naysayers have nothing to say. They're gonna all have egg on their face, and I'm gonna be out there telling them I told you so. Should have listened to me, but you didn't. Sorry, you're lost. But hey, get in now. It's still just gonna go up. So
It's a 6x. Yeah. DeFi Springs asks, in your opinion, what is the right time to load up on discounted trunk? I mean, you've kind of answered his other questions he had in here regarding when and how Bertha will support it. But I mean, I guess there's going to come a time when it starts getting dialed up and getting faster that you're going to really want to get in. But right now, I mean, my God, what an opportunity right now.
yeah. Oh my gosh, right now. And I would say, I mean, even with the elephant token supply shocking, if we're 2 months away from that really starting to kick in, and then so I think, okay, how about, like, what is it right now? We're about to be in June. I'd say by the end of this year, we're going to be finally past the elbow of the hockey stick going up into the shaft. I think by the end of the year, we're going to be
Dropping
in
the
the
boat.
shaft or right
Let's
there
go.
at it, right? And we are going to enter 2024 with a bang. Like, we're going to be just crazy bonkers on the elephant chart, and then elephant is going to start buying trunk token on a daily basis to bring that up too. So I would say you probably have a solid 8 months or so into early into 2024 to buy this cheap trunk now, and try to go for that raffle prize, and max depositor, deposit 200 trunk into your stampede to enter the raffle, all of that stuff. You want to be doing that now, because even if the prize amount today is what, 4 or 5 thousand trunk, that's $4 or 5 thousand that is going to be dollars within a year. So I would be loading up now. Hell, I still load up on trunk in the background. Like, I try to snipe that max depositor thing. It's amazing. I know that some people are just holding on to their stampede divs and letting it retrofit and go back to peg. I mean, you can do that, but you're going to be doing that for like 8 months to a year from today. I'm compounding. I'm resetting my stampede bag when I try to snipe that max depositor raffle, because I know it's going to be worth $1.
It's too
So yeah, I would say from now until the end of the year, definitely load up on some
Uh,
trunk, but not
32
before
bucks.
you're content with your elephant bag and your futures position.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that whole sniping of the rewards there. That's an other awesome feature that's also going to help as the redemption queue gets sped up. It's going to help with trunk. That's why I really do believe we're going to get close to peg even before the 10x, just because of all the mechanisms and the way this thing works. So let's take a let's go back to the graveyard rebalance. I've always had this question about that. I sort of don't quite understand the significance of the graveyard rebalance. Can you help me out with that?
I can certainly help you out. That is one of my favorite aspects of the protocol too, that I've been talking about for the longest. Um, we only really got to witness the significance of it one time. And I say one time, and it was during the last parabolic run up. So if you follow that trajectory from I don't know, mid-February until end of March, everyone go look at that chart at some point. And when you study that, there is one gigantic red candle that happened during that time frame. Only one red candle that happened, and that was the graveyard rebalance. So it wasn't a bunch of fanfare at the time because, people didn't really understand it. But I think going forward, the graveyard rebalance becomes a monumental community event that everyone's going to rally behind. Everyone is going to be paying attention to the graveyard percentage as it ticks. Today, it's at 50.5%. When that thing gets to 50.9%, everyone's going to be talking about the graveyard. Medium articles, YouTube videos are going to be talking about, this graveyard rebalance, because at that time, we're going to be in the supply shock so deep that we're just going vertical on the elephant chart. Okay. And everyone's going to be paying attention to the graveyard rebalance, because when it rebalances, those 10 trillion tokens between 50 and 51%, when it rebalances those 10 trillion tokens, half of those 10, so 5 trillion tokens, is actually dumped on the chart and sold for BNB. And when that BNB is sold, it pairs back with the remaining 5 trillion tokens of the rebalance and then gets locked into the LP. So it's strengthening and deepening the liquidity. But that 5 trillion token sell on the chart is what's exciting, because people talk about waiting for a dip. That is the only dip
15.
you will ever see when we are supply shocking. That 5 trillion token community monitored event, everyone's going to be trying to snipe it. They're going to be like, okay, oh man, the graveyard's about to trigger. Holy crap. And then boom, it just huge red candle on the chart. That is your best opportunity to buy some cheaper elephant token in an otherwise chart that just keeps going green. There is no better dip to buy than the elephant graveyard rebalance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I also heard some community members, a Trilly owner, saying the amount of money he made on the day of the rebalance was crazy.
Oh yeah.
From reflections, right? Just from selling 5 trillion. And so let's talk about reflections a little bit then. It's another part of the ecosystem that really, it's kind of unknown because of Buy with Bertha right now. But if you're a Trilly owner, what are you getting in reflections, do you think, cash wise, when this 10x's? What are you getting on a daily basis? I've heard estimates anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 a day if you're a Trilly owner in reflections. I don't know if that's true, but I've heard some people say that they definitely saw those things. I saw people say more. What do you think about that?
Um, so that's, how do I say this? So I think that holding elephant token is going to be amazing, because, you're going to get people that are tempted to sell their bag. They're going to say, oh man, my $5,000, it turned into 50,000. And they're going to want to sell their whole bag because it's more money than they've ever seen in their life. But I challenge that, and you can sell and take profit. There is no sell shaming. Bertha will gladly eat your taxes and fuel the supply shock more. Get out of the way if you want, but it would be in your best interest to hold, because the price appreciation is just going to keep going up. So what people forget is also, when you look at the data back when Buy with Bertha didn't exist, the reflections that you were getting more or less, you can bank on a 5% APR. That's just some, if volume is higher, obviously the reflections are going to be more. It's going to be higher than 5%. But during the slow times, averaged in with the high flow times, you just bank on 5%. So this is what's cool. If you have 100 billion tokens today, which is the benchmark people should be reaching for, if you can't get as many billions as you can, but I'm just going to use 100 billion. 100 billion tokens today at the 100x mark is going to be $1 million bag. Okay. And if you look and you capture that price at that moment in time, your 5% APR off of $1 million bag is basically $50,000 a year in reflections alone. So you're going to have
Flex.
a yield generation in
Yeesh.
and of itself off of that. Think about it, right? If you get to 100 billion tokens at the end of a year, you're going to have 5% more tokens above your 100 billion. And you can just be like, okay, need some cash and my 100 billion is worth $1 million. I'm going to sell $50,000 worth of tokens. And you can do that and just be right back down to your 100 billion. Does that make sense? Same thing with the trillion holders. Their bags are going to be worth $10 million in assets that they're holding of Elephant token. And what is 5% of that? $500,000 a year in reflections alone. They can literally just sell their reflections and have $500,000, of profit per year and never dip below their 1 trillion holdings. So that's another exciting aspect when the reflections are really turned on and buy with Bertha goes away. That's really exciting to know. And for the trillionaires, they understand that, and that 5% APR is going to be magical.
Man, I can't wait. And you get me excited all over again. I almost have to go buy more.
Vibranium hands, guys.
All right, let me take one
People
last
don't
question
know.
here from DeFi Springs. He said, do you think BT should keep Bertha buying from the BUSD indefinitely?
I
Ooh,
don't know. I'm
the
not that expert in
BUSD
that just
pool.
yet. That's kind of a new transition that's happened recently, and it is effective. I mean, look at CoinMarketCap. They're reporting the BUSD LP, which is amazing, and it just shows that beautiful chart.
Push it to the
I
limit.
don't think it would be a bad thing, but he's
Check
gonna
my video
monitor
out.
it as it goes. I don't know if a year from today, if he just kept it on the BUSD, I don't know if that lopsides the pools. You're gonna have plenty of people that also arbitrage between the BUSD and BNB. But I think for now, yeah, it's very effective and it's getting us on the chart watchers list. So yeah, keep it that way, but I wouldn't expect it to stay that way. BT's always going to be monitoring and tweaking, what's best for the protocol. So yeah, right now it's amazing.
I think one of the unexpected results I'm seeing, I love it that he did it, and I hope he keeps it going for a while. But I thought one of the unexpected positives was that it forced people to start buying the BNB pool at a discount. The BUSD just constantly goes up, and people feel like they're getting a discount with the BNB, and so it actually increased the number of buys. I think. I love how that all came in there like that.
Good point. Yeah, absolutely. Because even now with Buy with Bertha, it auto arbitrages to where you, as the user, are getting the most amount of tokens for the cheapest price, right? So it's giving you that BNB price, and then you get to take advantage of the BUSD price if you wanted to sell. And the larger the gap gets between the BNB and BUSD pools, yeah, there's some great opportunity to make some money there.
So my last question for you, SK, what is the real story with CoinMarketCap not reporting, and CoinGecko, this gatekeeping that they're doing? I mean, isn't CoinMarketCap owned by Binance? What in the world would they not want to report one of their most successful projects on their entire chain? Why would they not want to report that correctly? I'm just confused at what the real issue is.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either. I think they just have certain definitions of what they believe market cap should be that might just be different from the innovations that exist within Elephant Money. I think by their current terms, we don't fit the bill for whatever reason. And I think that'll change over time as they get pressure from not only the community, but also the numbers that just don't lie. I think after a 10x, I mean, they may not properly report us for an entire year or ever. I don't know. But
Anybody, I want a DCA,
the
senor.
word is
Please.
still going to get out there, and there will be charting sites that
Huh.
do accurately capture this. And I think eventually you'll just have an avalanche of support going into, hey, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, y'all might want to take another look at this because y'all are flat wrong. You're flat wrong. Like, this protocol is already 3 or 4 years old at the time. What are you guys doing? Like, I think you become a big enough elephant in the room eventually that they can't ignore you. So, for now, enjoy the fact that we're underground and enjoy the fact that we're not already rocketing up at this moment, because everyone gets this opportunity to buy cheap elephant tokens. You guys are the first holders of this multi-billion-dollar protocol that is inevitably happening. And, you get to get in before the venture capitalists and other people start really taking notice. So take advantage, if anything, of the gatekeeping. But yeah, eventually they'll have to reverse their position because the numbers will be undeniable in the future.
I remember BT in a long time ago, last year sometime, he said something about SK might become the head of marketing for Elephant Money. Is that something? I think the whole community would love that. I mean, I hear people all the time say that. Are you? Is there plans for you someday, maybe, to take some kind of leadership role where you're more officially, I guess, on the bankroll?
Maybe in the future. I mean, there's no talks of that happening now. I was surprised when he said something like that too. And he also mentioned, like, yeah, imagine, Bitcoin Miami and SK's up there talking in front of hundreds of people, giving presentations. Like that, sign me up. I would love to do that one day. But I also know that I can't do that until I get out of my day job. I want to be able to transition and do this full time and really dedicate more time to the craft and more content, and then just keep beating the elephant money drum until everyone understands it the way that I do. Everyone needs to have that aha moment, and I can't wait. So one day, yeah, I would petition for that. I would try to push for that, but it can't happen until after my day job, and I can't leave my day job until after the supply shock. So everything has to happen in a certain order. Yeah. But I would love it.
SK, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking the time today. I know you had a lot going on personally, so I really do appreciate that. And, I'm sure I'm speaking for the whole community. Please keep doing what you're doing. You're the best. Keep going, man. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Man, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. And the love and support that I've had in the background has just been phenomenal. I know that this is a critical time for us to get the word out there. But, shout out to all of the community members and all of the volunteer army that's doing waves in my absence. So Crypto Stu, Patrick Crypto Zoa, Jed, Thorgod, there's so many other people, Bailey, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a remarkable team of people that understand it and are just trying to get other people to understand it. And even though my 2023 has been crazy and I've had to fall off, just because my mom had cancer, I had to help her with that, which now she's good, everything's clear and smooth sailing from here on out, but that was huge. Also, bought a new house, I've got a baby on the way. There's so many things that have just had to pull me back and have me kind of fade in the background for a little bit until I'm ready to roar back. But I just wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation for all the other people that have really stepped up and just are taking this to the finish line, and it's kind of like the Avengers too. You had the first supply shock that happened, and then we had a Thanos snap that knocked us down, right? But now we're in the end game. Right now, we're in the end game. And now we have more Avengers this time around than we did the first time around. And pretty soon, BT is going to reverse, the snap. Everything's going to be back firing all cylinders. And we have this amazing army, and everyone has their own niche of what they're doing to really make this protocol shine. So
we're in the
end game. To all you guys, TN, even what you do, bro. Thank you for this opportunity and for having my back as well. So
we appreciate you, brother. Thank you. And everybody you mentioned, you're right. The amount of creative content people here on this on our herd is amazing, and I have respect for every one of them. Thank you very much, SK. Everyone have a great day. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Me, SK.
I can hear you fine.
It's back again. All right. Yeah, thanks guys for tuning in. That was awesome. You know, SK, super talented, amazing, charismatic, but humble, and he's like really you know, an awesome guy. You know, awesome guy, great integrity, and you know, he carries our flag really well. So shout out to him, and shout out to Thomas for just, you know, stepping up with the Twitter. Like, he's doing an outstanding job, you know. So that was awesome AMA. I was like, I gotta buy some more elephant token, geez, you know. But yeah, I mean, that was great. That was great. Yeah, just one last thing I just wanted to chime in on. The coin market cap, coin gecko scenario. Because I know Mike Dre and BT were going back and forth with CoinGecko trying to get us on there, properly listed. One of the things they really are struggling with is the circulating supply, is what a lot of the big dilemma is. And they don't understand the graveyard. You know, they don't understand that the graveyard is a token holder that is actively participating in the market, you know, so collecting reflections and then doing the rebalance. So, you know, I think that's part of like their holdup, you know, with their definition of like circular supplying, you know, not being like they don't think it's like you know, a public wallet or something. So I think that's part of the jam up. You know, so hopefully we supply shock their face off and force their hand into you know, reevaluating. And pretty much, guys, if you're into the elephant money system, you have to, as Yoda would say, unlearn what you have learned. You know, everything that you think, you know, about crypto and everything, like elephant money is just innovating and twisting it in a way that like it's amazing, you know, like it's totally amazing. So like taxes on a token, oh, like taxes are bad, right? Nope. Elephant money, they're great. You know, it's, you know, you gotta think differently when you come into this realm here. So all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, and thank you again, SK, for just being just the awesome quarterback on the field for us. And you know, you're doing a hell of a job, and you know, we're all with you. We all got your back, and you know, we really appreciate all your efforts. And same with you, Thomas. So all right, thanks guys for tuning in. This is Bailey from the EMH. I'm out.